just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and welcome everybody to the Eden Prairie Chamber's 50th anniversary celebration. Quite a milestone, right? My name is Dan Moriyoshi, and I'm the chair of the board for 2019. And we've got a great evening on tap with a quick look back at the last 50 years at really what the chamber has accomplished, everything that they're doing today, as well as a look forward at everything that they're going to be doing in the future as well. And then we also have the pleasure of hearing from John Wehoff, CEO of C.H. Robinson, one of the Fortune 500 companies that are headquartered here in Eden Prairie. And then a big thank you to the Jazz Quartet from the Eden Prairie High School for their entertaining during our social hour. Before we get the evening started, we'll ask everyone to rise for their singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, gentlemen. What a great start to the night. Well, the Eden Prairie Chamber is one of the organizations that has served the community for 50 years and has truly stood the test of time. And in the case of the Chamber, there's been many amazing individuals and businesses that have been involved over those years and in some way, shape, or form to help support and shape the Chamber for its efforts and impact. We just want to take a moment to recognize some of the past board chairs that were able to join us this evening and have them stand when I call your name. Roy Terwillinger, Rick Jensen, Tim Samuelson, Dick Ward, Alan Wallner, Joe Stabner, and Kelly Salway. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize our current board members that are here tonight and have them stand where their name is called. Paul and Salabir from Anagram International, Kim Whitmers from Boulay, Brian Hennon from C.H. Robinson, Josh Swanson from the Eden Prairie School District, Jeff Parks from the Hennepin Technical College, Pat Devine from LTR Digital Group, Michael Scholl from Starkey Hearing, and Steve Bowman from Tiger Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Thank you, everyone. And then lastly, we just wanted to acknowledge any of our guests that have served on the Chamber's Board of Directors over the years. Please stand as well, just to be recognized. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all your service, time, and commitment to the Chamber. And at this time, I'd like to call up our Chamber President, Pat Mulqueeny, for some additional announcements. Pat?
All right, we're tag teaming to make sure our PowerPoint works correctly, so bear with us. Thanks, Dan. It is a great evening to have everyone out tonight to help us celebrate 50 years. A quick run through of our agenda tonight will be chamber presentation right after dinner, and then we will hear from the CEO of C.H. Robinson, John Wehoff. After that, we'll do our Business Person of the Year Award, and then we'll conclude with some final thoughts from our 1977 board chair, Roy Terwilliger. Our silent auction will close right around 8 o'clock, and you'll be able to bid via your phone up until that point, and checkout will begin after our program concludes. I want to thank our elected officials who were able to join us tonight, including Congressman Dean Phillips, State Senator Steve Swedzinski, Mayor Ron Case, City Council members Brad Aho, P.G. Nanarian, Mark Freiberg, and also a thank you to Doug Loon, the president of the Minnesota Chamber, for joining us this evening. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to thank our sponsors tonight. Our supporting sponsors include Hennepin Technical College, the Minnesota Vikings, Round Bank, and Washburn McCreevy Funeral Chapels. Our Business Person of the Year Award sponsor, who you'll hear from later on this evening, is Boulay. And our cork and cocktail sponsors are AVI Systems and In Locality. And also a thank you to Fofinski, Mark, and Johnson for their donation, Anagram for donating the balloons, and Alan Wallner of W Creative for his help with our presentation this evening. At this time, I'd like to call up our raffle sponsor from Star Bank to announce our winners and have you guys open up your piggy banks. But I'll let her take it away from here. So please join me in welcoming Anya Van Roo with Star Bank.
Thank you, guys. For you that bought your pig, go ahead and grab them, just to see. We do have a couple over there, and there might still be some winners, so if you'd like to purchase them after dinner, you feel free to come over. It's all going for a good cause for the chamber. My name is Anya. I am with Star Bank. Star Bank has been in Eden Prairie for 9 years. I just started working with the business development piece of it, and I'm very excited about my role within the chamber, ambassador in training and different things. So congratulations on 50 years. Open up your pigs, and you might have a little note in there. Does anybody have it? And unroll the dollar bill. Anybody have anything on that $100 bill? Nothing? There you go. We got a winner. Yep. So if you have cha-ching, you're a winner. I have a card for you.
Thank you, Anya. And if we don't have 5 winners, that means there's still some winners over on the table. So, all right. Well, moving on, I would like to thank our hosts tonight, Bear Path Golf and Country Club, and their staff. They always do a great job with our events, and they were kind enough to provide our champagne this evening for our toast. At this time, I'd like to call up former World Series catcher for the Atlanta Braves and Bear Path General Manager Greg Olson to say a few words. Greg?
Welcome, everybody. Pat, for all the time that you've spent organizing this with your staff, I think we should give an applause for you in this 50th celebration. Nice job. So, my name is Greg Olson. Oops, that's me way back in 1991. You know, when my parents looked me straight in the eye when I was 7 years old, my mom said, "Greg, use your head." I took it literally. But I am not Linville Joseph. I have a Linville Joseph signed jersey. It's not a piggy bank, but I would like you at this time to reach under your table, and if you feel a certificate of authenticity under your table, just under your seat. Feel somebody's got on the table, under the table. If somebody had, do you? Oh, come on up. Come on up. How about that? That's awesome. Thanks, man. So it's always nice to give the unexpected gift at the unexpected time. So enjoy that jersey. I just want to welcome everybody here tonight, and I would like everybody to raise their glass. And for 50 years, the Eden Prairie Chamber of Commerce, this is the celebration. So a little cheers and a toast to Eden Prairie Chamber of Commerce, 50 years. And I'm going to leave you tonight with a very ironic story about 50-year anniversary and a very key employee of Eden Prairie Chamber of Commerce tonight, ironically enough, is 50 years old. And that is Lori Brown in the back corner. So we're going to sing Happy Birthday as the candles go off. Go ahead and stand up, Lori. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lori. Happy birthday to you. Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the dinner. Enjoy the festivities tonight, and happy celebration. Pat, it's all yours.
All right, if I could have your attention, we'd like to start our program now. As Dan mentioned earlier, my name is Pat McQueenie. I am the president of the Eden Prairie Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank all of you for coming out for our 50th anniversary celebration. Before I get into my presentation, I want to take a moment and thank my staff for their hard work and efforts, both with this event and the many other events we work on throughout the year. And probably just as important to me is that they put up with me half the time that I'm there. So, Paige Nance, Paige is our marketing and events manager. Thank you, Paige. Kathy Piowski is our membership services manager, or membership manager. And then Lori Brown is our member services coordinator. Thank you. So, 50 years. You know, one of the things when we were putting together this presentation, we wanted to see what had transpired 50 years ago. Sesame Street first aired. A gallon of gasoline was 35 cents. We landed on the moon. A little rock concert called Woodstock happened. And Eden Prairie, of course, was a growing and soon-to-be metropolis that we are today. We had a number of different businesses that were here. This is, of course, Emerson, before and after type of photo. Eaton Corporation has been here more than 50 years. Gunner Electric is celebrating 50 years this year as well with us. Lion's Tap has been here more than 50 years, and I gotta believe, has anyone in this room not eaten at Lion's Tap? Who has not eaten but won't admit it? All right, we're good. Everybody's been to Lion's Tap. MTS, one of our stakeholder businesses as well. And then Olympic Hills is also celebrating 50 years this year. I also know the Historical Society and some other groups locally, 50 years. So 1969 was a big year locally for businesses. In terms of a quick question, as I mentioned, gallon of gas, Dow Jones, any guess what the Dow Jones was in 1969? I thought I heard 800 at one point. It is 800. How about the average house price in 1969, buying a house? All right, well, $4,640. Sold. So as we kind of look through and piece this together, I wanted to pause a moment here and just recognize two amazing individuals that I hope most of you know, and if you don't know, you should. I feel very privileged to know them and learn the history of our organization, history of Eden Prairie, and their roles in it, and the many people that have served as part of the chamber and other groups. And they are Roy Terwilliger and Dean Edstrom. If both of you would please stand. Now, I have the privilege of sitting down with both of them, and I also tap into Dave Lindahl. Dave, over here with the city, is one of our great historians and knows all about our business community. So if you don't know Dave, please connect with Dave. But I sat down with all three, and especially Dean and Roy are business people that have been a part of the chamber and many other organizations. Shared numerous stories about back in the day, as we would say. They both got involved with the chamber in 1973, 1974, and I won't do justice to all their stories, but there's a number of things I did want to share that they shared with me. And a few of those items are that, and I shared this with the mayor and city council on Tuesday night when they gave us our proclamation. Some key business people that just really not only made our organization what it is today, but made this community what it is today. Names like Ruth Husted and Dick Farrick, Roy and Dean themselves, Billy By, Dwayne Pidcock, and many others that were business people, but also stepped up to be city council members. In Roy's case, was a state senator. Others that served on advisory committees. An example of this, Dean was recommended by the chamber to serve on the school commission and evaluate years ago whether Eden Prairie should have one high school or two. And Dean, I think you guys made the right decision. And Eden Prairie has excelled in education since that point.
Positives and negatives.
Positives and negatives. More recently, the chamber has made similar appointments to projects like Southwest Light Rail on their business advisory committee and others. Both Dean and Roy shared how other organizations were created or developed by the chamber and other groups, one of those being the Eden Prairie Community Foundation. And I know Mark Weber, who's their executive director, and PG Nayaran are both here. PG's the board chair. If you both would please stand. The foundation does great work for Eden Prairie. Their big fundraiser is a week from Saturday, right back here at Bear Path. If you've not been involved with their organization, I would encourage that. Please feel free to talk to them afterwards, or tickets are still available. But it's those types of organizations that our businesses help create and got involved with. And both Roy and Dean shared some amazing stories from the past, like when the Vikings bought and developed Winter Park. The stories they shared with me are not suitable for the audience tonight, as we are being taped for local cable access. But it's very interesting, just the dynamics and posturing of how we got the Vikings here. They've been a stakeholder and, of course, have recently left us. But their presence has been felt throughout all these years. They also highlighted the need for the chamber to hire staff. At a certain point, organization grew and needed staff professional staff to really run things. They hired individuals like Betty McNulty, Marge Fredericks, and then my predecessor, Lisa Sassini, individuals that laid the groundwork for myself and our staff today, and we cannot thank them enough. I grew up close by. I grew up in what is called the Glen Lake part of Minnetonka, and remember this area very well. My brother Mike and his wife Stephanie are here tonight. Mike has lived in Eden Prairie for 36 years, and many a time I drove to his place when he lived by Graffiti Bridge. And you think of landmarks like that people remember about Eden Prairie. And then other landmarks, businesses, Flying Red Horse, the Little Red Gas Station, the Flying Cloud Drive-In Movie Theater, all laid marks for our community and as well as our businesses as they grew. So, moving forward, some of the major milestones in our history. In 1976, Eden Prairie Center opened up and is one of those unique features of our community. Not every community can boast having a shopping mall. Major shopping center attracts over 10 million shoppers a year. We have unique education facilities like Hennepin Technical College that has been here for decades as well. The International School of Minnesota, plus we have our own transit service with Southwest Transit, and we also have a reliever airport that our business community relies on heavily with Flying Cloud Airport. And as the community grew, needs for transportation, roads and highways were developed. Back in the day, our ambassador committee wore red blazers. If you need a little help with the upper left photo, that is the Bachman store grand opening 25 some years ago with Dale Bachman cutting the ribbon, or the bouquet of flowers in this case. Moving forward, our ambassadors don't wear the red coats anymore, but they are out cutting ribbons of numerous of our businesses, getting them involved, welcoming them to the Eden Prairie area. Back in the day, our golf tournament happened. The outfits may have changed over the years, but the event is still the same. We are bringing businesses together and people together to meet one another and do business and find those ways to grow and support one another. In terms of programs, years ago, we used to hold our luncheons in a Chinese restaurant, the Great Mandarin at Eden Prairie Center. Luncheons may not have changed too much as we get together and still hear different speakers and network and learn from one another. But the gentleman in the lower left slide here in the red coat, this is Bob Carling. And why is Bob so significant for our organization? He was the first individual to be named our Business Person of the Year award, and we'll name our latest a little bit later in our program. Bob went on to win the Minnesota Small Business Person of the Year award, and with that honor was one of 49 other individuals to go to the White House and meet with President Reagan in the Rose Garden in 1982. So it's individuals like that and those business stories that we want to at least capture today and share with you as well. In terms of notable speakers over the years, we've had numerous governors, Governor Plenty, Governor Dayton, CEOs, SuperValue, Best Buy, many others. One of my joys was the chance to have NBA great Kevin McHale. I would say the greatest speaker, because he talked for literally less than 5 minutes and then said, "I'll take questions. What do you got for me?" And we got to learn about his time on Cheers and some other great stories. In terms of others, we've had U.S. senators, representatives, state elected officials. Dan Buettner, who maybe isn't a household name, but did great work on blue zones, people that lived to over 100 years. And after speaking with our group shortly after that, was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So there's some unique insights with the programs the Chamber has put on. And as I mentioned, Minnesota Vikings played a key role for our organization for a number of years. Winter Park, synonymous with Eden Prairie. Some great memories and things that we did. One key thing here that you see is the Eden Prairie Chamber and the City of Eden Prairie were finalists to land the Viking Stadium. We had the chance to put together our proposal and go over to the state capitol and make our pitch. As you think about if that would have happened, we would have had the Super Bowl, the Final Four, and many other events right here in Eden Prairie. The lower right-hand corner here, highlighting some of those key speakers. We had the owner of the Vikings speak shortly after he bought the team. Ziggy Wilf came to town. Lester Bagley, Rick Spielman, Leslie Frazier, and others from the Vikings participated, not only with the Chamber, but other community groups. And then another highlight was Deanna Favre, who's a New York Times best-selling author, a breast cancer survivor, and of course Brett Favre's wife. We had the chance to hear her moving story as well. In terms of major initiatives, as a business organization, we have supported issues that are strong for our business community. We were the only organization that supported the expansion modernization plan of Flying Cloud Airport. Again, if you happen to drive by there during these major events, you'll see the corporate jets lined up, the individuals that are here spending money in our community. The chamber represented our businesses back in the day when restaurants and businesses allowed smoking, and our city council was talking about banning those locally with our business community. Joe Stabner, I know, led the way as chair of the board back in those days on that issue. And then Southwest LRT and other transportation projects have been key for our organization. So now and in the future, what has changed over the years that our organization, like many, have had to adapt and get good at? And one of the things that we had a lot of fun with is social media. And if some of you were around during our Flat Pat days, this idea came out of one of our staff meetings. My staff thought it was pretty funny that we would create a cardboard cutout of myself. They thought it was funny until they had to drive around in their car with Flat Pat in the seat next to them. But the idea was to take this caricature out to our member businesses and help promote them. And it grew a great following. We went to different areas and the businesses could kind of do what they wanted with Flat Pat. Unfortunately, there was one snowstorm that Flat Pat slipped and fell. He broke his arm and lost a few fingers too as part of that. And but fortunately, we were able to take him to one of our members, Fairview Hospital, worked on him. And last I'd heard, one of our travel agents had set him up with a ticket to somewhere warm, and he has not come back, at least not yet, Moving forward, the key thing with our businesses, I've talked to some today and tonight about this workforce and talent pipeline. The Chamber has developed a number of programs and continues to look at how we can help our businesses be successful. The Job Fair and Career Expo, Twin Cities Young Professionals Summit are all ways that we're doing this. We also created what is called the Future Leaders Student Member Program. 2 students that have participated with that are here tonight. We've had nearly 250 seniors go through this program, and instead of having myself tell you about it and what it means to the students, at this point, I'd like to call up Jacob Lilliard and Kayla Runge to tell us a little bit about their experience. So please come forward.
Do we look familiar?
Do you mean from the most wanted posters at the post office?
No, I mean back in September at the Rock the Barn event.
We were the greeters that night. Man, was it raining hard. That was our first experience as student members.
We are 2 of 20 student chamber members, and we are also part of the senior intern program. My name is Michaela Runge.
And I am Jacob Lilliard. We want you to know what a huge impact you have made on us.
For instance, back in November, I joined a women's networking event where I met a photographer. As we went through the day-to-day routine, I learned that I like to do photography, but on my own time. As I continued to work my way around the event, I met a financial planner. I didn't know much about finance, so as we talked about it, I learned that I actually had a passion and interest for this. Talking about interest, you might be wondering why I signed my name. Well, I have a strong passion for American Sign Language. I needed to figure out how to introduce myself at a business and breakfast when we had our elevator pitches. And I learned from Vicki Fox, a chiropractor, that you have to take your game to another level. And how she did this is she brought in a garden hose, dead flowers and real flowers. And she explained how if a hose is winded and kinked and has knots, that your back can be the same way and you don't feel happy and you have these dead flowers. Well, she explained how she will unwind your back just like as she unwinds a garden hose. And when you unwind your back, unwind the hose, you have these beautiful flowers and your back feels so much better. And so I was thinking, how can I make this my next level? And I thought, why not sign my elevator pitch? And that is how I learned to sign my elevator pitch, and people started to notice me a little bit more. Overall, through this experience, I've learned that I need to keep an open mind and be ready for something new. I also learned that you need to make a great first impression so people will remember you.
All student members have a chamber mentor that they're assigned early in the year. Mine was Dominic DeMars. I'm sure all of you have know who he is. He's a pretty well-known figure. Dominic and I first met at Caribou, and we got to talking a little bit about ourselves, and he got to talking about his career and how he just really loves what he does. It makes going to work really easy every day to wake up and know that you're doing something that interests you. That is really something that stuck out to me. And so I started thinking, what am I interested in? I've played hockey most of my life. That's obviously an interest that I have. And I've also grown to have an interest in finance. So I started looking on LinkedIn, which, is like everybody is on that now. And so I started looking, and Mr. McQueenie was linked in with someone from the Minnesota Wild. So long story short, I emailed Mr. McQueenie, and we got talking, and it was actually his son's best friend that worked for the Wild. And I was able to go to the Minnesota Wild and got to meet everyone from the top up, got to meet the president and the marketing people and everything. It was just an amazing event. And really what I took out of that is that there's really a career for everybody. I had no idea that the team that I love and the team that I watch on TV has finance people and has marketing people. And it was just really an eye-opening experience. I plan on attending St. Olaf College next year. I'm getting a degree in finance and economics. And maybe one day I'll be working for the Minnesota Wild. Who knows? I wish I could play for them, but I'm not quite that good. But without the help of Dominic and all the amazing members that I've met throughout this experience, I wouldn't have been able to really have a grasp of what I want to do and choose the major I chose.
As for myself, and thanks to the Women's Networking event, I will be attending the University of Minnesota Duluth to study finance. We wanted to thank you for investing your time, your energy, your money, and your efforts in us. Please know that it makes a huge difference.
Thank you very much, and as I said, we love our high school program. We love connecting our students to our businesses, helping them find those career pathways, and they're looking for more opportunities like that. So if you have some opportunities and want to help present those to our students, please let me know as well. Other items, economic growth, big opportunities in our future. Shields is quickly building. I wish it would be open in time for this fall's hunting season, but I'm gonna have to wait one more year. I know it's a 2020 opening, but Shields will generate a great draw to the Eden Prairie Center. If you have not been to a Shields store, it will have a Ferris wheel, it will have big aquariums, and it will have clothing and apparel and everything you will want and everything that you don't need but still will want. But that's very exciting for us. It is, as we all know, retail is a tricky dynamic right now. Shields will help solidify the major investment we have with Eden Prairie Center and continue to attract people here to shop and spend their dollars with our local businesses. And Southwest LRT begins construction this year. Our business community has been behind this. They have, as early on, showed their support, echoed their support for the chamber to support it. We see it as an opportunity to bring employees to Eden Prairie. It also will build a dynamic to connect us with downtown in ways that will generate additional revenues for our businesses. And then light rail, as many of you know, is a definite draw for young professionals. And we want to be at the forefront for Eden Prairie in the future with that. Public policy and business issues continue to be on the forefront for our chamber. I want to thank, I know we have Jennifer Loon, her longstanding support for our businesses at the state capitol, championing our causes. In this case, this is on fiscal disparities. For those of you who don't know what fiscal disparities, I don't have enough time to tell you, other than tax dollars collected from our area businesses go to other communities to be used. So, and getting close to wrapping up, in terms of our organization, partnerships play a key. We are a strong organization that partners with other chambers. We will continue that in the future. You'll see new opportunities coming from us in the months ahead. Exciting new opportunities as we build on the partnership agreements we already have in place. And there's probably no better partnership than what we have already with our City of Eden Prairie, city council members, their staff, and then our school district as well. And that is why Eden Prairie has been recognized time and time again with numerous awards as great places to live, great places to do business, and why all of you are here tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our featured presenter and introduce John. I've had the privilege of knowing John over the years. We've talked about a number of issues. He's been one of those long-term investors in Eden Prairie, as I would describe him. He is the CEO and chairman of the board for C.H. Robinson. He has been CEO since 2002 and became chair in 2007. In his current role, John oversees C.H. Robinson's global operations, which span through a network of over 280 offices and 15,000 employees in North America, South America, Europe, and Asia. During his time as CEO, John has directed the largest expansion in company history, nearly doubling the number of C.H. Robinson offices worldwide, including opening the company's first offices in Asia, tripling its employee, customer, and carrier base, and completing 19 acquisitions. An employee at C.H. Robinson since 1992, John has also performed as Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, and Corporate Controller. C.H. Robinson is a Fortune 200 company. Great to have them headquartered here. I believe you're our number 2 employer in Eden Prairie, and is a great partner and has been in Eden Prairie over 40 years. So please join me in welcoming John Wehoff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pat. As Pat mentioned, C.H. Robinson didn't make the cut for the 50 years back going all the way to the chamber, but we are more than 40 years that we've been headquartered here. Had fewer than 100 employees when we moved from St. Louis Park to Eden Prairie. And over the last 40 years, Eden Prairie's been a fantastic place for us to grow and succeed. So for those of you who were the pioneers who helped establish Eden Prairie to what it is today, Margie, my wife, is here tonight. We've been long-term members at Bear Path here. We have board meetings here. We have business reviews where many of the Fortune 100 company senior leadership teams come to visit us and talk about what's happening around the world in their supply chain. And we're very proud of Eden Prairie, and Eden Prairie has been very good to us in terms of helping us achieve what we want to do. So it's been fantastic, and I'm excited to be here and share a few thoughts about who we are and kind of what we're doing as a company. So thank you. In terms of speaking agenda, am I going the wrong way here? Probably. Okay, I've got a handful of slides. Many of you probably are somewhat aware of what C.H. Robinson is. I've got a handful of slides that I'm going to power through real quickly that just share some data points around who and what we are. The last slide has 5 topics on it that are sort of labeled current events and are the things that we're spending most of our time on, that our shareholders are asking us about, and I thought those would be the topics that you'd probably be most curious to hear a little bit about. So if you're not familiar with Robinson, I want to introduce you to a handful of data points around us, and otherwise we'll get to the fun stuff in a hurry here. Robinson is a 115-year-old company. Like I said, there was a Charles Henry Robinson back in the day, Grand Forks, North Dakota, but we've been a Minnesota company for most of that history, and we are a transportation and logistics company. So we provide freight, supply chain, and logistics services to over 100,000 customers. Pat mentioned the network of 15,000 employees and 280 offices around the world that we have. It is very much of a platform or network business, so every shipment that we work with and every customer that we work with, we're looking at the entirety of the origins, the destinations, the supply chain, and it's important. We're we're a global organization, and it is how we add value to our customers. We have 8 services that we talk about. So truckload is the largest one on the left-hand side there. It's 53% of our net revenues. We are the largest truckload shipper in the world. We don't own any trucks, but we subcontract it all, and we provide more truckload transportation than any other company in the world. You can see across there, there's LTL, there's intermodal rail. We focus primarily on pallet and larger freight that we ship. International freight, international air and ocean containers, there's consulting services, and then we have a produce business. Charles Henry was actually a produce broker, and in a lot of the perishable stuff that we do, because of the nature of the commodity, we actually take title to it and do our own branding and buy and sell the produce that we distribute as well too. So that would be our 8th service line. These are some of the brands that you may have recognized around town. We have some of our technology tools that get branded. We have some produce labels that get branded and a couple of acquisitions that we've worked on. I talked about our diverse customer base, over 100,000 customers. We work with big and small. We work with everybody in the Fortune 500 who has freight, and we work with tens of thousands of small shippers. So there are companies that call us once or twice a year to try to figure out how to deal with a single shipment. They may not have a freight department or any resources at all. And we work with the Walmarts of the world where we'll bid on tens of thousands of their shipments and try to optimize them, consolidate them, route them around the world, and do a lot of different things for them. So it's, again, transportation, supply chain, logistics, big and small, all around the world, trying to add value and help out. One of the things that makes what we do possible is the fact that the providers of truckload transportation are very fragmented. If you look at the chart here, there are very few trucking companies that have more than 100 pieces of equipment, and the vast majority of truckload capacity that's in the world and in North America is 1, 2, 3, 5 trucks, smaller family businesses, true owner-operators, and we provide kind of a quality control, marketing, and dispatch function over the top of that to help them go to market and help them be able to access freight from shippers of any size to work together. So the fragmentation of the freight market, and especially the truckload market, is a big part of what allows us to do what we do. Technology is huge. We have this Navisphere platform that everybody who we work with connects to one way or another, that gives visibility to everything that we do, that has lots of algorithms and tools in the background to make things more efficient and better. So technology is a big part of our network. Just about done. Information advantage. It is important that we have more information than our competitors, that we have more information that we can bring to the table in terms of figuring out how to do things more effectively. We are proud of being an Eden Prairie resident, and we do a lot in the community with our foundation, a number of organizations that we support. We support our employees being active in the community and doing the good things that a lot of them do with a number of the organizations. So you see some metrics there. And then last year we gave a couple $1 million locally. So we're proud of the success that we've had. We've grown to $16 billion in revenue and a couple thousand employees locally. And it's a big point of emphasis for us that our employees are part of the communities that they're in all around the world, and that we're trying to make sure that we raise the right kind of employees with the right kind of values and attitudes to not only serve our customers in the way that we want them to, but also to become good people and good citizens in the community. So we're proud of the company that we've built. Ta-da! Up to the current events today of the things that we have our first quarter earnings release. I've been the CEO for 17 years. I'm retiring in about a month, but I got one earnings release left, probably my 93rd one, I think, as a public officer. So these are some of the topics that we'll be talking about over the next month, and there are things that are important to our industry and important to our company and things that I'm sure you're hearing about in the news. So I thought I would just share a few thoughts around them, and then if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take those as well too. E-commerce, how many Amazon Prime members in the audience here today? So obviously a top line subject for society and what you read. About a year ago, the Wall Street Journal on the cover of it had 2 pie charts, and one was the percentage of retail that's now e-commerce, and it's debatable how you measure it because what's in, what's out, but I think they had around 7% of retail that was now e-commerce. And then within that e-commerce pie of hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue, half of it was Amazon. So when we think about our industry and how things are changing, 2 of the bigger questions is, What does that 7% become? I think everybody knows it's going to be a much bigger number, but does it stop at 10, 12, 15? Does it go to 50? How big of a number is? Then, of course, everybody's chasing Amazon in terms of, will they be half of it and where it will be. So there's lots of stuff that you've probably read about in terms of last mile implications in our industry. So the Postal Service, FedEx, UPS, and all of the Amazon investment that you see in your neighborhoods. And really, if you think about it from an industry standpoint, that's all incremental market share from a transportation and logistics standpoint. So rather than all of us driving to the Eden Prairie Center to pick up our stuff, it's incremental opportunities to deliver that and provide it. It's very much about density and a limited number of providers, but that's been a really important change. The thing that most people probably don't appreciate is that change has literally impacted every part of the global transportation and logistics supply chain, because those e-commerce providers and even the Walmarts and the Targets who are trying to get their share of that part that is out there, they are today holding inventory in many more places than they were in the past. For a long time, they were trying to consolidate and streamline, and today you got to forward position it. A lot of it's about speed, trying to create the expectation that you can have it within 2 hours or have it quickly. So even the pallet and full load and international freight that we work with today has changed dramatically over the last 5 to 10 years because of moving from a push to a pull marketplace and all of the speed and e-commerce stuff. It's changing literally every element of the freight and supply chain part that's out there. So probably the number one topic for sure in the retail vertical, but even in a lot of the other things we do around how orders are being taken, how loads are being built, and how distribution is handling. It's a very important topic. Woven right into that is technology. When I started at Robinson 27 years ago, we had, I think, 8 people in our IT group. We have about 1,000 today out of the 15,000 that are in technology. Many of you probably know more about it than I do, but there are a lot of components to that Navisphere platform that every office around the world of ours has. I could talk for the rest of the day, and I sometimes do, about all of the technology pieces of that and the things that we're investing in. It has become a really important part of our business to make sure that we're making the right investments and enhancing that platform with the right capabilities. We have a mobile app today that allows any of our shipper or carrier partners to go on and give us information or accept freight or do things via mobile devices. We have global visibility, so you can see anything from anywhere in the world on a computer, a laptop, or mobile device. There's a lot of algorithms that help figure out which shipment should go on which piece of equipment and how the freight should be mixed and matched so that it's done most efficiently. There's a lot of beginnings of artificial intelligence and data warehouse stuff. I was thinking about it this weekend. I don't know how many Masters fans we have in here, but when people say, well, what really is AI and what really is all this intelligence? How about the job they did on moving the Masters up because of the weather forecasting? And within an hour of Tiger getting his jacket, it was pouring, right there. And they had 24 hours in advance. Well, our customers want to know if their freight's going to run into a problem and get wet or do other things. And so the pressure, the customer expectation is to use data to understand and analyze and do things better, but more and more to get into predictive data to try to understand that if there's a hurricane going on, what does that mean in terms of the shipping schedules and what are the other choices and how do you divert around that? So in addition to all of the connectivity and visibility and automation and decision support, the data accumulation in the cloud and using cloud technology so that you can compute at a much higher level and getting into predictive analytics, those are some of the new things that we're working on as a company to try to make sure that we stay ahead of things. Global trade tariffs, may have heard about that the last year or so. We, as C.H. Robinson, as a freight provider, are not necessarily directly exposed to the tariffs ourselves, but many of our shippers are. So our role is that we're helping with compliance. It's not always black and white where tariffs apply and how you classify things. If you don't do it properly, people go to jail and there's fines and penalties. So execution, compliance. Longer term, we do consultative things around network analysis where people figure out where they should source from, where their vendors are, where their plants are. If the tariffs remain permanent, many of our customers will be making changes to their global supply chain. So right now there's a lot of hesitancy around what the future might look like and whether or not people are going to make changes to their global network. So very active in the international world About a third of our freight crosses borders and happens globally with international air, ocean, or crossing trucks. So all of the changes and noise that you're reading about in the political part, the U.S. has, and obviously with Trump, it's become kind of a hot topic. But from the standpoint of our business, every country has tariffs with somebody, and there are from point to point around the world, there's nonstop tariff activity that we're doing. It's just that ours have been very significant, and some would argue not always clear, and there's a lot of negotiation on, so it's been a little bit more challenging, but it is part of what we deal with every day. It's just been very much escalated, and our shareholders and our analysts are trying to figure out what that means for us, trying to figure out if we have any insight into any other industries or verticals around who's going to get hurt or what's going to happen or where freight may move to in the future because of it. U.S. truckload regulations, I mentioned earlier that that's our number one source of revenue. If any of you have any experience or exposure in the trucking industry, over the last 5-6 years, there's been a number of rule changes, generally under the safety umbrella. There's been new rules around testing for drivers in an environment where there's already a lack of drivers, but drug testing and different things to make sure that people are safe on the road. There's been hours of service regulation to change the rules around how long trucks can drive. This last year, they required electronic logging devices, or ELDs, that electronically monitor those logs that were previously kind of manual before that. All of those things have led to much greater scrutiny and oversight of how trucks move around in North America, which has really translated into pricing changes. So many of our high truckload customers have experienced significant rate volatility and change around regulated issues within the truckload industry. So in our biggest source of business, truckload regulation's been a hot topic the last 4 or 5 years, and we constantly get questions about the effects of ELDs, and even though they've been in for more than a year now, there's kind of iterations around how capacity owners will get smarter and kind of re-optimize around the new rules. So it's an ongoing topic that we continue to have to deal with. And last, I would just highlight U.S. income taxes. I know that happened about a year plus ago and got a lot of attention, and it's kind of faded a little bit since then. But I would tell you that as an organization like us who is building out a global network, we've been making acquisitions around the world. And for those of you who maybe don't have the background on it, just briefly, we've had a 35% effective tax rate for a long time under the old rules. And when we were competing with other businesses to try to acquire in Asia and Australia and other places where there were much lower tax rate, it was a real handicap for us that we were bidding against Koreans and Chinese and other companies that had a 10 or 15 or 20% effective tax rate. So in terms of my job and capital allocation and what are we going to do with the money that we earn and how are we going to build out our network, some of the things around tax reform of lowering our tax rates and allowing capital to flow freely to and from the United States, those are kind of really important, big picture, long-term things. Now, there's lots of social issues and economics around that. There's other ways you could have done it in just terms of just not taxing incremental profits when they come back. But U.S. tax reform was a really significant item for those of us who are in the global game and competing with other countries and trying to figure out how you're going to manage your capital and who you're going to compete with and how you're going to compete with them. I'm sure it'll take a long time for the effects of it to all kind of ripple through and really understand what we've done. And there'll be a lot of debate about it going forward, and maybe they'll change it some more. But it's been a really material item, and for all of us who are public companies, again, our shareholders and analysts are trying to understand what our effective tax rate is. Are these changes going to provoke any changes in our attitudes around dividends, share repurchases, acquisitions? Are we going to manage our capital differently as a result of it? And most of us are, to one degree or another. So that's been a really important change in our business that's happened in the last couple of years that we're having a lot of interaction about. I'm going to pause there. Those are kind of 5 headline topics that we spend a lot of time on. They're all important things to C.H. Robinson, but important to us as well, too. And again, I'll thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to share a little bit about C.H. Robinson. I don't know how we're doing on time here or if we have time for questions or not, but if anybody has any, I'd be happy to ramble some more. Yes, sir.
What percent of your R&D is in drone technology?
Percent of R&D that is in drone technology, that would be right around 0 today, in terms of what we're doing. I would say if you think about our business model, we're very proud of innovation and research and development, but a lot of what we're doing is since we're not generally the capacity owner, we don't own the trucks, we don't own the railroads, we're trying to figure out what is the optimal way for all of our shippers. We are trying to understand all of the drone owners and all of the different creative ways that people might be executing final mile delivery or other types of distribution services, so that if we think it's viable and we think that it's the best economic answer for our customers, that we'll recommend that or we'll execute by subcontracting with that. You know, today, as most of you probably know, the technology world, there's so much capital flowing in and there's so much hype that so many of these things that a lot of the new technology can do, there's kind of, the hype curve is really high right now around autonomous vehicles and drones and a lot of the things that may be part of our future at some point, but today really aren't involved in the day-to-day execution of anything that's happening.
Hi, I'm Brad Apple with the Prairie City Council. I just want to thank you for being a part of our community and committed to our community and all that you do for our community. And why don't you just give us an idea of the number of people that you have employed here in your Eden Prairie campus? And I think that's important for people to understand, and you're providing great jobs for Eden Prairie people.
Well, thank you. Again, we're very proud to be here. We have just under 2,000 employees locally. Our headquarters is over by Flying Cloud Airport there. If you think about our business, we talk like a lot of big companies about job families, about the different sorts of things that we have. So we have sales, account management, capacity managers, and operations people that do kind of the core of what we do. So they're talking to shippers, talking to carriers, coordinating pickups and deliveries, making decisions around how freight moves every day. We have a Minneapolis office that's just like the other 280 offices around the world, and that's close to 1,000 people here that are doing sales, capacity, operations, kind of the execution stuff that we do. Because this is our headquarters, we also have about 500 to 600 of those 1,000 IT professionals are in a tech center that's right over there. We have sort of corporate headquarters, which is finance and legal and marketing, and it, Brian, right just under 2,000, if I'm correct, yeah, right around there. So
We've been growing a little bit.
I'm naming parking spaces, not employees, right? So Brian has to deal with the fact that we have consistently run out of parking spaces over the last couple of decades, and we have to deal with the growing pains that come with it. But since we are very much focused on efficiency and scale, we typically are adding capacity after we need it rather than before we need it, which is, you know, part of how we stay lean and efficient as a company, but it does create some daily growing pains within the organization. But yeah, if you haven't had a chance to drive by us or see us, there's 4 or 5 buildings. We've got kind of a traditional headquarters building with executives, marketing, finance, HR, legal, that sort of stuff. And then we've got a couple of other buildings that are our tech center where we build this global platform that's mostly proprietary. And then we've got our local operations of sales, account management, and operations.
John, thank you so much. Also, I wanted to really say thank you for supporting Eden Prairie Community Foundation. Thanks, Pat, recognizing. Follow up to Brad's question. I was wondering how many people you would hire next year.
That's an ongoing debate. So one of the things that we pride ourselves in is that the majority of our business model is variable costing. So these sales and account managers and our operation people, we generally scale them to the level of freight and activity, which means that when the economy is growing and freight activity is growing and we're growing, we'll be adding people as well too. So we have a long-term targeted growth rate of high single digits. And if everything else is equal, that's the number of people that we would hope to add as well too. Now, we have lots of productivity initiatives that would hopefully have us grow a little bit slower than that in terms of making our people more productive. Since our tech center is here, we hire more technology people than we do in a lot of the other job families, so that number raises up a little bit too. But then we also have some job families here, like the executive group, where we generally don't scale them and kind of try to keep it as more of a fixed cost. So you throw that all in the blender and you hope you have enough parking when it comes out at the end of it. But I think we'll hire several hundred people this year. And the other thing that happens too is because we're a growing, changing business, over a long period of time, we average mid-teens turnover, just because we have a lot of customers that are hiring our people. We have a lot of people, we hire most people right out of school, so they'll come to work for us and move on to other industries, customers, or maybe go back to school. So that's the net growth number that I'm talking about. In any given year, we're probably hiring another couple hundred people locally to replace turnover or retirement and that sort of thing too. So it's meaningful, and like I said, we do some of the stuff because we believe it's the right thing to do and it's compatible with our values, but those of you that have local businesses, you all know how it works, right? If you invest in your community and you invest in your people and you invest in the local things, good people live there, and then you hire those good people and they do a good job for you. And I don't mean to make it sound that it's all self-serving, but there is a mutual relationship that a lot of these things are not only the right thing to do, but they're good for our business too. And so I'm very sincere in my comments that the relationship between Eden Prairie and C.H. Robinson's been a good one for a lot of reasons.
Time for one more question.
What's your economic outlook over the next 2 years for the U.S. and the world?
Yeah, economic outlook. So I would say that all of the data points that we see today in the financial industry and the shipping industry, that nobody is predicting kind of short-term crisis or recession or negative things. The thing that I know a lot of people feel, and I feel very strongly about it, is that we learned 10 years ago that the finance world is much more interconnected than anybody understood in terms of the financial crisis and how organizations took each other down. I think the global economy today is probably more interconnected than many people, possibly our president, even understand in terms of these tariff issues and some of these other economic issues, that viruses can spread quickly and impacts can have other things. So while we would sort of share the camp that our customers are in a good place and we're looking for growth and we think things are generally positive, that because of the interconnectivity and some of the volatility and tensions that are out there right now, it's maybe a little bit more fragile than some people would appreciate, or that maybe it has been the case in the past. So that's probably the way of saying that while we generally feel pretty good about things and are hoping for a good year, I think you have to be ready and a little paranoid around what might go wrong fairly quickly as well too. Thanks a ton for listening. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you one more time to Pat and the encouragement. Just about took it with me.
All right. Thanks again, John. At this time, we would like to do our Business Person of the Year presentation, and want to thank Boulay for sponsoring this award, and it seems rather fitting because I know so many of your clients are our area businesses, so it's a great fit for us. And at this time, I'd like to have you join me in welcoming Steve Burns, Managing Partner from Boulay, who will tell you a little bit more about Boulay and then introduce our Person of the Year.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor to have this opportunity to present the award for the Business Person of the Year. Boulay's, I guess, fairly new to the area. I mean, we've been here 15 years in Eden Prairie since 2004 in what they call, the name was the Wilson Learning Center. Sits out there on 212, the kind of the tallest building, I believe. Is that fact?
That's fine.
And been fortunate enough to share our building with the chamber for certain events in our training center. So the Eden Prairie Chamber annually recognizes an individual associated with one of its member companies as their Business Person of the Year. This award recognizes the individual for the success of the company and their participation in the community affairs. Boulay is honored, we're very honored to announce this year's finalist and winner. We are a local accounting, consulting, and financial advisory firm in Eden Prairie. Boulay is dedicated to integrating our depth of experience in accounting, tax, consulting, and wealth management services designed to help our clients meet their goals. This year, the Chamber had 3 amazing finalists. You will learn more about them in the future Chamber communications. The other 2 finalists were Dustin Mix, President of Tiger Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Is Dustin here? Okay.
Steve's here.
Okay? And then Brandon Schuler, the Principal and General Manager of Republic Services. Okay? All right. So tonight's winner started his career in a very familiar place, like Boulay, as an auditor in public accounting. He eventually made his way out of public accounting and landed as a controller at Anagram, and then as the president. Over the past 20 years, Jim Pluty steered Anagram's growth in excess of 400% and successfully navigated economic downturns, helium shortages, which is a big player in that, as well as staff shortages. His vision to automate processes, develop training programs, and lead the industry association largely influenced Anagram's success. Jim's commitment to the community, employees, and leadership encourages his Anagram team to get involved in local high school programs, chambers, matching employee giving to local charities, and teaming with various nonprofits that work with people and disabilities. Nationally, Jim works with Wounded Nature Working Veterans, a nonprofit dedicated to cleaning up coastal waterways. Please join me in congratulating Anagram's president, Jim Pluty, as a recipient of the Eden Prairie, sorry, yeah, Eden Prairie Chamber Business Person of the Year. Thank you. Now, Jim is out of town tonight and could not be with us, so Paul Anselvar from Anagram will be accepting the award on Jim's behalf. Yep, congratulations.
So a couple real quick things. Jim did start as at Arthur Anderson, which is an accounting firm, and he would tell you, how fitting that an accounting firm recognizes him. So, real quick, this morning we had a board meeting, and I was told I had to file a disclaimer, and that is, I am not Jim Plute. So, Pat accused me of, coming up here, accepting the award, and then walking around Eden Prairie saying I'm the business person of the year. So, I'm not Jim. But Jim, I wish I could describe Jim, so I tried. So we will go quick. I was told I have 12 minutes. He said 3. So, okay, so here we go. Jim's not here tonight for a reason that I think exemplifies who Jim is, and that's this. Our vice president of sales took ill last year, and he eventually died of cancer. But as he was ill, Jim took over his responsibility. So Jim was not only the president, and he asked us all to help. He was also the vice president of sales. And today he's at a customer's house, a customer's place of business, because he never filled that position, because he wanted Mark to always know there was a place for him at home. There was a place until he passed away. And long after he knew that Mark wasn't going to make it, he kept that position open. And that's who Jim is. Now, Jim, when I told him I put him in for this award, he was really happy with me. In fact, he said, Paul, I don't do that type of stuff. And that's an exact quote. But he wrote this. He said, tell them this. Tell them the success of Anagram has little, if anything, to do with me. Our success and failures have to do with the people of Anagram. No one person, no one department, no one level is responsible for Anagram's success. It's every single person contributing. So I could go on and on about who Jim is, and I will tell you this. He accepts this not upon himself to say he has won the award, but I will tell you this. He is an awesome leader who leads from the back. He's not the person in the front. He supports me being part of the chamber and others being parts of other things. And as he gets near the end of his career, he's been with us for 35 years. This is a great way for the community to recognize not only him, but all the leaders, John included, all the leaders who've led their companies to be great corporate citizens. So Jim allows me to accept this on behalf of him, the company, and the employees of Anagram.
Thank you, Paul. So as we wind down our night tonight, I think it's rather fitting that we are going to end with Roy Terwilliger in a way to highlight the organization for the Chamber and our Eden Prairie community and the strength of the people involved, I think is one message that Roy likes to carry with him every day. And at this time, I want to call up former state senator, former Metropolitan Sports Facilities Commissioner Chair, and the Eden Prairie Chamber of Commerce's 1977 Chair of the Board of Directors, Roy Terwilliger.
Thank you, Pat, and good evening. Nice to be here. I think it was King Henry VIII said to each of his 6 wives, "Don't worry, I won't keep you long." I'm one of those people who's been around here for a while, and it's been my privilege to be around the 50 years of the Chamber, 45 years. So I've seen it go from a chamber that was where we met around the table at the vocational technical school for our lunch. We had about as many people, there was maybe two tables here, and 6,000 people in the community, to what is now approximately 70,000 people, and perhaps more than that in the numbers of jobs. It's been awesome to watch this growth, and as I think about it, and I hear what you say, Paul, and I hear what John talked about, this community has been one that has worked together. We've got the schools, we've got the service clubs and nonprofit groups, the city, and the chamber that have cemented a solid relationship as this community has gone from 6,000 to in excess of 70,000, as it's gone from one stage of innovation and technology change and business change and growth to the next. It has always had this cemented relationship together, held together by organizations such as the Chamber, but some other nonprofits such as the Lions or the Rotary or whatever organizations are out there. And I think that's something we should be very humble about and feel very good about, and not that we should take for granted, because this community continues to build and grow on the shoulders of the people who have been here before, the companies that have been here, the Eaton Charlins, the Rosemounts, now Emersons, the companies that have actually provided a lot of leadership and growth, a school system that has been outstanding, that happens to have the good fortune of having a district that's coterminous with the boundary limits of the city, so the city and the school can work together well. A city that has had a growth from a community, as I said, of about 6,000 people in 1974 when I first came here, with 2/3 of that north of Highway 5 and west of County Road 4, to a community now that has all varied types of housing, large PUDs, areas, and homes that are from one end of the economic spectrum to the other. Where we're standing right now was farming. Most all of this area down here was farming. And to watch it grow, as I've had the privilege to do, to watch it grow from the community that it was, which, where you'd talk to the people like a Cal Anderson, who you'd ask him how long he'd been here, and he says, "Have you ever heard of Anderson Lakes?" I mean, people like that have been true pioneers, and watch it go through the stages of both appointed volunteer as well as elected leadership in a smooth change from one transition to the next has been really my humble privilege over the years. It says a lot about this community. It says a lot about the people that are here, the people who have populated it, and the people who have given their time and their efforts to make it the community that it is. And years ago, I was at a seminar and heard a poem called "The Builders" by Edgar Guest. And it goes something like this. Hopefully I'll remember it correctly. "I watched them tearing a building down, a gang of men in a busy town. With a ho-heave-ho and a lusty yell, they swung a beam and a sidewall fell. I said to the foreman, "Are these as skilled as the men you'd hire if you had to build?" He looked at me and said, "Oh, no, indeed. Just common labor is all we need. We can wreck in a day or two what it took the builders a year to do." So I said to myself as I went my way, which of these roles have I tried to play? Am I a builder who works with care, measuring life by rule and square? Or am I a wrecker who walks my town, content with the labor of tearing down? This community has been built by builders, continues to be led by builders, continues to be led by volunteers who are builders, and we have a rare privilege, those of us who have been around here a few years, to have observed that growth and that change. And I can say hats off to so many of you that are in this room and those leaders, there are too many to mention, that have gone before us that have done tremendous jobs leading this community. Thanks a lot. It's a privilege to be here.
I was a little afraid of that I'd have to follow up Roy's comments. But very great sentiments, and the reason that I wanted to make sure, Roy, you wrap things up because you say it so well. So thank you very much for all you've done for our community. With that, our event and evening is adjourned. Please feel free to stick around, get one more drink if you want, and meet some new people. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for the support over these past 50 years and the years ahead. Have a great evening.